Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It is Craig Harris, the black man in the green chair. It is 10:30, roughly Eastern Standard Time. I am back with another video. This is Craig's Corner, where I do commentary and things like that. And today I'm going to do some movie commentary. I'm going to do spoiler reviews for the movie Logan. So if you have not, not seen the movie Logan, it just came out, you need to back away from this video and do not listen to it, not unless you want to know what happens in it, how it ties into the X-Men universe overall, somewhat of the Wolverine timeline as well. So I will give you exactly 10 seconds to go ahead and back off this video, because this is a spoiler. Again, it's a spoiler video for this movie. Okay, let's see here. Let me, so 10 seconds starting now. Five more seconds. And all righty, if you are still listening, this is going to be a spoiler review for this movie. This movie starts out in 2029, and the X-Men, they are existing in this timeline. How they've done this is that after X-Men Days of Future Past, which is not the last X-Men movie done, but after Days of Future Past, the timeline changed. You have to take the first two X-Men movies that came out, so let's see the first three. X-Men and X-Men United, or X-Men 2, and then X-Men The Last Stand. That never happened because of what happened in Days of Future Past. So that what happens in this timeline is that the mutant population has been wiped out. There was a genetic virus created by a corporation that helped wipe out all mutants. I mean, they all died. So the only ones that are left are not in the United States. There's a handful left that they know about. One is Logan, and the other one is Charles Xavier. Well, Charles Xavier, he's got a form of Alzheimer's disease because his brain is so powerful, it's starting to break down. So this movie starts out with a Logan being in hiding. He's a limo driver at this point. He's bought a limousine, and he's trying to just make ends meet. He drives a little bit, and it never says where he is. I want to say he was maybe in Oklahoma City. He was somewhere where he could get to the Mexican border, because Xavier was in Mexico. So he comes up to the United States to drive the limousine, not to be the Wolverine. And during this time, his body is breaking down. He's breaking down physically. He's still drinking heavily and things like that, but he no longer is healing. He is losing his healing factor. So he can no longer heal himself. So if he gets shot, he used to pretty much absorb them and bounce right back out. It doesn't do that. It actually slows him down. But in this movie, because again, his healing factor is gone. So this movie starts out, he's driving a limousine, he gets into a fight. And it's humorous in the fact that he's standing in front of the limousine, he's taking bullets because this is what he's using to make his money. So, and he makes decent money driving a limousine, because he can bounce as well. So you can put the two and two together. Hopefully my mic is sounding good. I had some mic issues earlier tonight when I was on the podcast. So shout out to the one viewer that's listening. I do appreciate it. Hopefully the mic is a little bit better. So let me continue. So he goes down. He drives a limousine around, and he drives somebody to a funeral, a woman to a funeral. Doesn't say who it is, but a woman from Mexico comes up to him at the funeral begging him for help. Tells him she's got information for him. He basically tells her to go fuck off. He didn't want nothing to do with her. He's trying to live his life. And the woman, he rejects the woman. The woman drives off. In the back of her car, you can see a little girl. It's not that big a deal. You can see a little girl in the back of the car. So so they drive off. Apparently, Charles Xavier has been using his mutant powers to try to find other mutants, and he finds that little girl. So, Logan drives back to Mexico. He's going to drive back to Mexico. He stops to do a couple things. Somebody climbs in the back of his car and, works for this shadowy organization, gives him a card, says, if you hear from this woman or anything like that, you need to let me know. Gives the card, says, he'll pay money, whatever, and says Logan needs money. He's like, he doesn't kill the guy. He just says, get out of the car, whatever. They exchange pleasantries. That's the end of it. That's the end of the pleasantries. So, long story short, Logan drives back to Mexico, runs into the albino guy that was in X-Men 2. He was in the wheelchair. He was controlling Xavier's mind in the wheelchair. So that's a tie into X2, even though the X2 timeline really didn't happen. Here's this mutant now. He's in a different timeline. He can walk around. He can't be exposed to sunlight, so forth and so on. So Charles tries to tell Logan about the girl. Logan didn't want to hear about it. Logan gives him a shot to help control his mind. And because that's Charles doesn't want him doing it, but it's to help him. Long story short, Logan ends up meeting with the girl and the girl at the hotel and the woman that he ran into at the funeral. This is cutting into the movie a little bit here. The woman tries to tell him what happened, ends up telling him what happened. She has a video on her cell phone. What has happened is in Mexico, because there's no regulations, you have this corporation that's conducting experiment they're conducting it on children. This young girl has the exact same healing factor that Logan has. And she was part of the X-23 program. She's, again, the big news on her is that she is Latino. She doesn't, and that she has the adamantium claws. She only has 2 claws that come out of her hands, but because she's female, one that comes out of her foot. Now, the one that comes out of her foot is because she's a girl. That's part of the mutation. She's able to maintain it, but she can only use that in a defensive posture. They describe it like a female cougar or lion. They will attack you with their claws and teeth, but they use their hind feet for defense and to get away. And that's what she does. So, but she's extremely violent. I mean, she's like a little murder girl. She goes from 0 to 100 in a second. One of the great scenes is and the movie's rated R. Do not take your kids to go see this movie. It's got TNA in it. It's extremely violent. So one of the best scenes in there is at their little hideout where they send like 2 or 3 soldiers in to get her, to capture her. And all you hear is an ass whooping. And then the little girl comes out with a bag. And in the bag, she throws one of the guy's heads and she's chopped off. And then she starts attacking everybody. And it's a wild attack, just like an animal attacking. She's very fast. And she's only like 8 or 9 years old. Like I said, 7, 8, 9 years old. But, they have a big action sequence in that aspect. They all start to, they all get away pretty much. Big action sequence involving a train. Again, very well used. They get away. They get to the United States. They get to the United States. They change clothes. So far for so on. Also, product placement in this movie. They showed one of the new Sony TVs in this movie. It looks sensational. And Sony does all movies pretty much anyway. They're the reason why it's in 4K. They showed this brand new Sony TV that looks phenomenal. It looked phenomenal. But anyway, moving past that, the shadowy group catches up to him at the hotel, and a big fight at the hotel. Xavier goes ape shit. Great sequence where if you've seen other X-Men movies, how he can freeze time. and nobody else can move. Somehow Wolverine and X-23 can move, but she can barely move because she's so small. He's able to move, gets up the stairs in the elevator, and takes out all the guards in the room. It's reminiscent to the scene back in I'm trying to think of a movie it came out, The Untouchables. There's a great scene in slow motion. It's almost like that. It's similar to that, very eerily similar like that. Again, good movie, great sequence of events on how that happened. And moving on, so now we're moving on. They escape the hotel. They come across. They're traveling at this point, and they have, again, it's 2029, so they're on a road, and there's automatic trucks driving on the road. And one veers, one does something different, something it shouldn't do, causes an accident, causes a truck with horses to not overturn, but it wrecks. The horses get out. The family is a black family played by, or an African family. I no longer use the term black because I got my own reasons for that. It was an African family, and they were farmers. They were horse farmers. And basically, they help herd the horses back into the trailer. And X-23's face, because she's never seen a horse before, because, again, she was raised in a facility. And so she was raised in the facility. She does not have great social skills at all. She doesn't talk a whole lot in this movie. Played very well, by the way. I think Daphne or Debbie, I can't think of this young lady's name, but played very well by her. So again, Logan, because of the fighting and things like that, he's slowing down. Charles Xavier really starts to deal with their humanity. They're older, and look, Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman, bravo. I mean, again, a tour de force of their performances. It wasn't like one of those, all right, I'm getting another paycheck or something like that. They really give it their all in this movie. So anyway, they're at the farmhouse. The farmer is played by Eric LaSalle. Again, you know him from ER. He was the black doctor on ER, the African doctor on ER. So he's in this movie, and he's got a short part. His family has a short part, but it's a very important part. Long story short, Shadowy Corporation catches up to him at the farm, and they unleash X-24, who is Logan. What this company has been doing is been, again, cloning the DNA. Before they unleash X-24, Logan finds out what's really happening at this plant. Turns out, and again, this is spoilers, turns out that that all of these mutants are from Mexico. They're born from Mexican women, through genetic manipulation and test tubes and things like that. And, the Mexican women are kidnapped by the cartels, things like that, you name it. And then they're giving birth to these children that are raised in the facility. They're testing their mutant powers. And they have everything from telekinesis, to X healing factor like X-23. They control electricity. They can manipulate space-time continuums, things like that. I mean, it's just mutants, and they're all kids. So, the fight at the farmhouse happens. X-23 gets captured by Wolverine. X-24 murders the entire family, which was brutal, absolutely brutal. But the pacing at this point of the film is really good, because even though they all got murdered, to see them all act in a dynamic that's trying to really humanize Wolverine, because again, he's just been a two-dimensional character. They've done some things recently, to help break that down, but you get the feeling that he has lost his humanity. And this young lady in the movie has no humanity. She's just murdering. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now she's protecting herself, a little bit of everything. So eventually, they leave the farm and things like that. She says, "You're going to get me to this place up in North Dakota so they can cross the border into Canada," which is amazing. They're coming from Mexico and now they're crossing into Canada. It's kind of a hidden meaning there. But long story short, again, they end up, this is in the third act now, so we're in the final acts of the movie. They get to North Dakota. There's a bunch of there's children mutants there. They got there. They gave them a certain amount of time to get there. Then they secure passage across the border. So they're about to go. They give Logan part of the X-23 formula to help him heal. He sleeps for 3 days. Now you can kind of see what this is setting up. I'm sorry, let me go back. At the farmhouse, the farm family dies, and so does Charles Xavier. He dies in this movie, which he is pretty much come out and said during interview after interview. He was on BBC interviewing about 3 weeks ago. He said, he gave a tour de force for the character the last time playing it. He said things like that. So if you can't figure out that he was going to die, then you just don't understand how they do these movies. And this is a spoiler. So if you're listening to this, that's one of the spoilers. So anyway, before Logan, leaves, before he leaves and goes his own way, because the kids are going to go their own way, they give him the formula to help heal him, and then he's about to go his own way. He wakes up, the kids are already gone because they're making their way, safe passage, like I said. Logan sees 7 to 10 drones, like small drones. Like you go to Radio Shack or wherever, Walmart, Best Buy, and get a drone. They fly over, they find the kids, and at this point, Logan has to make a choice. He can either leave and go one way and let all those kids get captured, and if the kids get captured, they'll be killed. But he makes a decision about his own humanity at this point. He knows he's dying. He doesn't have long to go, so he gives himself the full injection. I'm talking about he takes 60 cc's, and he puts it in his body. And at this point, he is the Wolverine. He's the Wolverine that we've all seen over the last 15 to 18 years. At this point, he's ready to go to war. Long story short, he goes berserk. If you read the Old Man Logan comic books, he has a berserk mode. You finally see it. He's going berserk. It is out of control. They're putting it, he's putting it on them. X-23's going completely nuts. I mean, she's in berserker mode because she's a little kid. So she's going berserk. And, body parts are flying off people. It's gruesome, violent. I mean, it was great action, great scenes. And it was a really good scene because Logan had made a choice to go and save these kids. He knew he had lost Charles Xavier, who's pretty much his father figure, a few days earlier. He doesn't have anything to live for, but the whole time we all know, and he knows that genetically X-23 is his daughter, 100% genetic match. Same mutation factor, same adamantium grafting. Is that she's a smaller version. This is his daughter. So anyway, big fight in the woods. Logan, does his thing in the woods, and he gets killed. This is a spoiler review. Logan does die in this movie. He's actually killed by X-24, which is a clone version of himself. But by doing that, he takes the heat off the kids, and then they're able to have I think there's an adamantium bullet, which if you're into the Marvel universe, X-Men universe has adamantium, I think it's called, and the regular MCU, they have vibranium. Same shit. They call it something different because it's Marvel, but it's two different companies with Fox. I'm gonna get into that at the end of the video. So because a lot of people don't understand the whole Marvel, Fox, and Sony thing that's happening. All they see is Marvel. So to continue, at the end, when the kids bury Logan, they have a very nice prayer for him, and they put a cross up, because Logan's dead. The kids are about to escape. I mean, again, big fight sequence in this one too. So the kids are about to leave, and X-23 walks past his grave and takes the cross and she turns it sideways so it forms an X. And that's the way the movie ended. There is no end credit scene on this. There's a beginning credit scene with Deadpool that does not work because it's trying to be funny and the movie is serious. And it just didn't work. It was fun to see the character again. He's a Fox character, and I'm about to get into that. But that's Logan in a spoiler review. Both him and Charles Xavier die, finding, Charles dies, but he sees Logan start to gain some humanity. Through X-23, she's the new Wolverine now. And that's because they're the same person. It's just one, he's a man and she's a woman. And at this, so even though he dies, he is this little girl. He's this little girl. I mean, this is his daughter, 100% match. I mean, can't get away from it. So, but that's the way this movie ends. Again, great symmetry. It is one of the best comic book movies I have seen. It just is. And it's through Fox, and Fox also did Deadpool. So let me get into this whole shared universe that they have here, because a lot of people do not understand this. Let me start with the deal. All right, the deal that Marvel has. Marvel went bankrupt years ago. So they sold property. They sold Fantastic Four. And when you sell Fantastic Four, you don't just sell the Fantastic Four. You sell the Fantastic Four. They sold the Silver Surfer. They sold Galactus. They sold all of that. Okay, they pretty much got rid of their A properties. Marvel's A properties, were Spider-Man, and they sold the X-Men to Fox. So Spider-Man got bought by Sony, and Spider-Man is owned. So anything doing with Spider-Man, Kingpin is Kingpin. They sold Daredevil. They sold all those guys, the Punisher. All those guys got sold off to different studios. The Incredible Hulk got sold to Universal. So Marvel doesn't own these characters. That's why there's been different companies do different movies. So let's start with Marvel. Marvel owns Captain America, Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the MCU. That's owned. That studio was bought by Disney. Disney owns the MCU. So when you go see Iron Man and you go see Iron Man and Captain America, Black Panther, that's the MCU. Okay, that is the MCU. That is owned by Walt Disney. So with that said, all those characters you're seeing in their universes you're seeing now. So you're going to see Guardians of the Galaxy come on in. You're going to see Thor and anything that has to do with Thor, Loki, Thor, all that stuff is part of the MCU. Okay, now Universal has the Incredible Hulk. They have the rights to the Incredible Hulk. They are sharing the Incredible Hulk with Marvel. That's why the Incredible Hulk is going to show up in Thor Ragnarok. That's not a spoiler. That everybody is following this knows this. So you'll have Loki, you'll have Thor. Okay, what else? Movies came out? Doctor Strange. All that's owned by Marvel. The Hulk is owned by Universal. Period. So if there's anything, any toys, Marvel doesn't get any of that money. That goes to, I think Mattel makes Incredible Hulk toys, I think. So don't quote me on that. So anytime you see the Incredible Hulk, you have to thank Universal, because Universal is the one that's loaning him to Marvel. They have a really good working relationship. So Universal's like, go ahead and use it. But they have, ever since they entered into this agreement, they have not, NOT, made an Incredible Hulk movie. They did with Ed Norton. That was the second part of the MCU. Not that bullshit they did with Eric. I think Eric Bana did a version of the Incredible Hulk. It was horrible. It was horrible. So, but that's the way that works. At the end of the Incredible Hulk, you'll see Iron Man walk in and pat him on his shoulder and say, well, I still see you're messing around with biotics. but that's because he's been incorporated into the MCU. And again, Universal is fine with that. So now let's move to the Sony deal. Sony owns Spider-Man. Sony owns every version of Spider-Man there is. Peter Parker, Miles Morales, the female Spider-Man, Venom, Rhino, Dr. Octopus, all that is owned by Sony. It doesn't matter. Sinister Six is owned by Sony. Doesn't matter what happens. It's owned by Sony. That's why. So now you're going to say, well, how is Iron Man in the new Spider-Man movie? That's part of the shared deal. Marvel picked up the tab to make 70% of the movie so that Sony would not be on the hook for a $150 to $200 million movie. Because they did that, Marvel leveraged that. Sony didn't leverage this deal. Marvel leveraged this deal because the Amazing Spider-Man did not do what they thought. The one with, I can't think of the guy's name, who was nominated for an Oscar, but those movies did not do as well as they thought they were going to do. So the toys and all that stuff, that's not owned by Marvel. And I don't think the toys are owned by Sony, but Sony gets a cut of the toy line. Shout out to the 2 viewers, by the way, that are watching. I appreciate it. It's Friday night. I understand. Not a whole lot of people here. You know, this is just a spoiler review. This is movies and gaming. So that is that universe in a nutshell. Spider-Man is now part of the MCU. Sony can say whatever they want, but Spider-Man is now part of the MCU. So that's why Iron Man is in it. That's why Spider-Man was in Civil War, albeit for what? He was Peter Parker for 6 minutes, I think, in the movie, and then he got on the Spider-Man tights for like 7 to 8 minutes. Again, I can't, that's just the way that universe works. So if there were to be a video game, Sony's not going to let Peter Parker be on any other platform, more than likely, but Sony. But Miles Morales and the female Spider-Man, all that is negotiable. All that is negotiable. Just like tonight, when I watched the Logan movie, Sony had one of their TVs in that movie. They placed that product in that movie. Sony is a competing movie studio with Fox, but again, they're able to negotiate different deals, different deals at different times. So everybody's open to that. It's not that big a deal. Hold on. So we're going to open. Let me take a swig. But that's the way that whole universe works. They're sharing the characters. Now, because they're sharing Spider-Man, they're able to see Iron Man in that movie. They could put the Incredible Hulk in that movie. They could put the Guardians of the Galaxy in that movie. As a matter of fact, they're making Infinity Wars. They're shooting that right now. I think they're shooting Infinity Wars in Atlanta, either Atlanta or New Orleans. And Spider-Man's in it. The Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be in it. Black Panther is going to be in it. Again, all the MCU people are going to be in it. The Incredible Hulk is shared from Universal. They want part of the money. Sony's got Spider-Man in there. And the reason why they went back to Marvel, one was because of the leaks, the Sony leaks that really hurt their company, their movie division. And the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 did not do well financially. They made their money, but they're expecting this movie to make $1.8 to $2 billion, and it didn't do it. So it underperformed based on studio standards. But with that said, that's pretty much it. There's only 1 or 2 viewers. I do appreciate you all stopping in. Again, this was a Logan spoiler. I highly recommend this movie. If you are under 18 and you're listening to this video, you don't need to be watching it. You go watch something else. There's other movies out right now, so go rent something. This movie's extreme. It's violent to the core. It is a very good movie, though. It's a tour de force with these characters. The characters do die. I'm talking about Charles Xavier and Wolverine. They do die. Wolverine lives through X-23, the young lady. That's his daughter. That's his genetic daughter. And he understands at the end, again, when he takes all that serum that he takes, he understands that this is it for him. He's sacrificing himself for them so they can escape to be who they can be. So there's people online right now saying he died in vain and things like that. Like, no, he didn't. The character, again, Wolverine's, if you look at the movie timeline, Wolverine's been alive since the 1700s. Like I said, if you watch X-Men Origins, I think they show him fighting in the Revolutionary War, then the Civil War, then the Vietnam War, then World War II. That's part of the whole the second Wolverine movie. Just, it is what it is. So go and see this movie. I'm telling you, it's top dollar, meaning that top dollar. What I'm saying to you is that you can go see this at any point. You can go, and if you want to go see a matinee, that's fine. If you want to pay the premium price after 6 o'clock, I think it is, after 5 o'clock maybe, then you can pay that too. You won't be mad. I promise you won't be mad. It's not like Kong Skull Island, where if you go see it after 5 or 6 o'clock and you pay for it, you will come out mad. You may get arrested. So like I said, I didn't pay to go see Kong. I did pay to go see this. This is my second viewing. Not a whole lot of cracks. Very good story. Very well paced. Characters, again, Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, they give a tour de force. We've been with these guys since, again, these guys got cast back in 1999. So for 18 years, we've been riding with these guys, and I want to give you all a professional thank you. When I used to watch X-Men, the cartoon, when I was a kid, I was like, man, this would be a really cool movie. I'm glad that those guys, Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, they gave it their all in each X-Men movie. Bravo. I'm going to miss you guys. But, hey, look, I'll tip my hat to you. One hell of a performance on this movie. Go see this movie. Just go check it out. I shed a tear a few times in this movie. So I highly recommend it. That's the end of this video, folks. This has been Craig's Corner. You've been hanging out with the black man in the green chair, drinking his big green jug. I appreciate it, guys. Oh, yeah. Buy Horizon Zero Dawn if you haven't yet. Beautiful game. Beautiful game. Beautiful game. I highly recommend that too. But that is it, guys. And we're 14 days from Mass Effect. Great news on that front too. So I appreciate you all joining me, guys. Have a good, safe Friday. Don't drive slow in the left lane, people. Take it easy. Peace.